Hello there, my name is Michael. So what I'll do here is show you 7 C Major Pentatonic Licks in the style of Jimi Hendrix. So before I get to the licks, I'll just explain where they're coming from and why I'm calling this a Hendrix style lesson, because it's just something that he's famous for doing and it's just become immortalised really as his kind of sound. And it kind of mixes playing little bits of chords and a little bit of lead as well. So the basis for where these licks are going to come from are 2 blocks of information. The first one is just a good old C major bar chord, okay? So if that's new to you, this is a kind of C bar chord. That there, so just make sure you know at least how to do that. And what we're going to do is, this part of the chord is going to get mixed in with some licks we're going to play. Okay, that'll make sense as we go a bit further. So just make sure you know how to do that. And then this is also the same version of that chord. We're just doing something a bit different. We're putting a different note in what's called the bass of the chord. So this will be called C/E, and all that's saying is there's an E in the bass of a C chord. Don't have to worry so much about that for the minute. That's the chord shapes that you're going to kind of see come up in the licks, and then I'll give you a little scale pattern, and this is a way you can play something called the C Major Pentatonic scale. Just that little pattern there. So after you do 3, 5 in the A string, I'm going to suggest get used to moving this 3rd finger along. We're not really going to use the pinky too much. I'd rather you get used to that for now. And then it's 5, 7 on the D string. Same on the G string. And do this 5th fret on the B string. And that's the little pattern I want you to get used to here. Okay, so with those chord shapes and that scale pattern, you're going to see where all these little fancy licks come from, okay? Now a common thing you'll be doing here is we'll actually be kind of letting the 1st finger sit in one position a lot of the time. So on the tab, you'll notice that sometimes 2 or 3 strings are getting played at the same time. So what I want you to do is get this C/E chord. Get that shape ready for me, okay? Take the 3rd finger off for now and just leave the 1st finger sitting. And it's going to cover those 3 strings, okay? That will be a big part in this. So let's look at lick 1. Just keep your 1st finger sitting over 5, 5 and 5 of the 4th, 2nd and 3rd string. Just leave it sitting there. Then all you're doing is hammering on the 7 on the D string with your 3rd finger. But we want kind of all those notes ringing into one another, but don't mind a bit of messiness there. And then you're going to try and pick 5 on the G string. And again, don't really worry if you hit other strings in there and amongst this shape. We don't mind that kind of sound in this style. So 1st finger's just sitting there. You're doing the hammer on, the 7 on the D, and then you're picking 5 on the G. And you just keep looping that. There's different ways you could pick that as well, so you could do it all down. So that was everything with a downstroke apart from the hammer on. You could pick this note on the G string with an up. That has a nice flow to it. Okay, so those would be 2 kind of straightforward enough ways to pick that. Now you'll notice as we're doing these licks, They're a bit messier than maybe some other licks and lead guitar playing you would do. We don't mind a bit of imperfection and roughness in this. So other strings are going to ring out at times, but that's okay. Alright, that's kind of what's happening with Hendrix rhythm and lead playing a lot of the time. It can be a bit dirty, okay? So don't worry about perfection and total accuracy here, okay? So we do hammer on the 6 and pull off. You're hammering on to the B string there. Then we have some single notes, so you can kind of release the first finger now if you want. 7, 5 on the G string. 7 on the D string. And then finish with our little chord over there. Lick 3 is kind of a variation of lick 2 there. That's really kind of happy Hendrix sound there. So you've got your first finger just sitting the whole time. You do this hammer on, but then pick that chord when you get back to it again. And the ending, you want 7 on the D sounding out with your 5 on the G that you've got your first finger down for, and then you just take that off and you'll have 5 on the D and G ringing out like that. So we're going to form the C/E chord. You give it a strum first, but then you can kind of take that third finger away. You can keep this first finger planted if you want, or you can make this more a single note thing. It's up to you here. And we're just kind of using some pull-offs to come down a scale pattern. So that's making it kind of a single note thing, but if I made it a bit more gritty. I kept that first finger planted until I got to the A string, and then I had to lift it off there. So, you know, both sound good. I prefer that dirtier sound there, where you're keeping that first finger planted. It'll sound more Hendrixy, if you will. Then lick 5 is basically just a grittier version of that, where we really do want 2 notes sounding out. There's just a little variation at the end that's really, really cool. As you get to the 5th fret on the A string, you pick that note, hammer on the 7 on the same string, but as you're hammering on, kind of roll that first finger over to cover 5 on the D and G for a nice little finish like this. And let them all ring into each other there. Here's lick 6. If you listen to the solo in Let It Be by George Harrison, there's loads of C major pentatonic Hendrixy licks in that song, okay? Hendrixy sounding anyway. So that's a good example of some of this other than Hendrix himself. So you can use this third finger to slide here. Pick 5 on the A string and slide the 7. Then hit that chord with your first finger where we're covering all the 5s. And you can let everything ring there. Then you pick 7 and slide back to 5. And then on the 3rd fret of the A string and give it some vibrato. And here's the last lick to finish it off.